Good evening, everyone, and welcome today to today's panel titled Inclusive Education in Grade 3 From Barriers to Breakthroughs. My name is Nicolette de Silva, and I will be mediating the panel this evening. Along with me, being a M.Ed student with ITU, I am currently a teacher teaching in a school based in the UAE, where inclusiveness isn't just a policy. It's something that is woven into the mainstream fabric of our school system. But before we continue, I would like the audience to take a minute to reflect. Let me begin with a quick reflection, something from the heart of a child, a SET student, a student with special needs. Imagine you are walking into a grade 3 classroom as an 8-year-old. You are eager, you are curious, you are excited, but a little worried. Will today's lesson make sense to me? Will my teacher understand what I need? Will my classmates think about my strengths? Or will they make fun of me when I struggle? So many thoughts in your mind. So, what do you start doing? You start hiding. And this simple reflection from a child's point of view, though small yet powerful, because it reminds us why we are here today. It reminds us that every learner brings to the classroom a unique story. And as educators, as community stakeholders, as leaders, it is important for us to ensure that every story is nurtured, is acknowledged, and is supported. So, the main aim of today's panel discussion is to understand what are the barriers of inclusive education in a grade 3 primary classroom, to highlight practical strategies that support inclusive learning in grade 3, to share innovative practices that move learning from a one size fits all approach to an approach where every learner matters, and to hear the voice of our wonderful multiple stakeholders in the pictures, our teachers, our educators, leaders, and most importantly, the parents. Because inclusion is not only a one man's job, it includes everybody working together. Now that we have set the stage for today's panel discussion, it gives me great pleasure to invite our panelists. Today we have with us Ms. Bhuvana Ramakrishna, Mr. Narendra Kumar, and Mrs. Janet Khan. I would like you all to please introduce yourselves to our audience for today. Ms. Bhuvana, beginning with you.
Um, Thank you so much for inviting me for this panel. It's my great pleasure to join specialists to share my point of view in inclusion. Me being a parent and a professional for nearly 2 decades, I believe in supporting families like mine who have gone through this journey and empowering every student under my care to reach their full potential and become independent citizens in this world. So, my mantra is empower, embrace, elevate, and together we shine. So, along with them, elevating my students, I have grown from a parent who had had to take a journey who was I was a teacher, physics teacher by qualification. Then I qualified myself into special education to better support and understand my child's need. And then is when I said I have to step out to support families like mine. So it was an advantage for me to be a teacher so that I can understand both sides of what it is to be a teacher in a class plus what it is to expect as a parent. This has helped me understand both sides and support more than just a profession. It's just my way of life.
It's a beautiful summary of how how experienced you are in this field, ma'am. And I really liked the way you said that your vision at this moment is to empower and to elevate our students. I think that is a motto which all of us at this point strive towards. But thank you so much, ma'am, and welcome to today's panel. Moving on to Mr. Narendra Kumar, would you like to hear a little about yourself?
Uh, Thank you, Nicolette, and congratulations to you, and thank you to you to inviting me in this great occasion. I would also like to thank uh, our co-panelist. Myself, presently working as a teacher educator in Teachers Training College. I don't have much experience in working with special needs children in schools, but I am working from 2010 in this field, and I have got so many opportunities to visit the inclusive schools, special schools in Delhi and NCR. So my objective is that, of course, I support the inclusive education. Our country is also moving forward to support inclusive education, and all the children, special needs children, enroll in inclusive schools, reach neighborhood schools, study neighborhood schools, and over so many policy of government of India, just like RT Act also support inclusive education, RPWD Act also support inclusive education. So we are in positive direction towards the inclusive education, and I think in coming years, uh, gradually we are going to uh, complete, and all students will enroll, and no one students left behind the school and education. This is things.
Thank you, sir, for a wonderful insight. Moving on to Miss Janet, we would like to hear a little about yourself as well.
Thank you, Nicolette, for inviting me. Thank you, Miss Bhuvna and Narendra sir also for being here for the panel discussion. First of all, I'd like to say that there's not much enlightenment about you can say, the children who are PODs, because here, at least here, there is a awareness, but in India, there wasn't any awareness about it. So I feel blessed to be a part of the POD's journey, because when my child, as a parent, I'm speaking, when my child was born, we were not aware what was happening with him or not. Though everything to us seemed normal, but slowly, gradually, when we develop, we came to know that there is some problem with him. So I decided, it was I had retired that time. I was 60 that time, 62, I would say. I had retired that time, and that time I decided that I would do something for this child, because the parents, they both were working. There was no one to take care of him except me at home. So now, though I was an educator, I had taught children. I am teaching, I was teaching children since 1984, and I am still teaching children till now. So education is not a problem for me. For me, it is how to handle these children. And being a part of him, his learning and his growing up, I have come to know how to be a part of these children. And as I've been an LSA also for about 7 to 8 years, so I know how to work with these children very well. So I'm very blessed, I think so, to be with a part of these children.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your uh, insight about your experience as well. So, audience, today we have with us three stakeholders who are going to share their expertise with us, who are going to share their reflections, their experiences with us. So, before we continue, let's have a few guidelines of how we're going to go about with today's panel discussion. Today, to guide our discussion, we will be guiding our conversation objective wise, starting with identifying the real barriers and then moving on to practical solutions, which educators like you and me can implement in our classrooms. If you have any questions, do add them to the chat box, and definitely our panelists will address them at the end of this panel discussion. So, without further delay, let's begin with our very first objective, where we identify the barriers in inclusive education, specifically in a grade 3 primary classroom. Our first question goes out to Ms. Bhuvana. From your experience as the head of the SEND department, what are the most common barriers to inclusion in grade 3 classrooms, or a primary classroom for that fact? And how can schools ensure early identification and support before these learners fall behind?
As you rightly started, to resolve any problem, we have to identify where the starting point is. Now, identification of children and their barriers with additional needs is very important. Now, when we are looking at grade 3, um, assuming if it is an inclusive school and there are proper structure and system in place, they would have been identified by the time they are in grade 3. There are students who do get identified in grade 3. For example, for a student who has only learning, reading and writing needs, scholastic needs, like general school related needs, but otherwise if the child is those children would have missed out being identified at a younger age. That can be a possibility, because sometimes parents try to overcompensate, try to tutor them, train them, pre-teach them, and these children do try to scrape through or manage to be put in precisely in the classroom. But when it comes to grade 3, most of it, you have all the subjects coming into play, like it not limited to literacy, numeracy and science. You get into social studies, and in social studies you will have the multiple parts, the Indian civics, and the in the context of UAE, you also study about UAE social studies. So every subject has multiple subsects within that, and the academic stress grows. And at grade 3, it is expected that every student is able to comprehend what is being spoken and is able to be on task and demonstrate their understanding when the teacher tells it once or at the most twice. Now, this is where, when a student, when they are not able to cope, their performance in the class, be it participation in the discussion or a lecture, or copying the notes or completing the task given, if there is a disparity, and that is where you identify. Now, this has to identification. Now, this calls for teacher understanding of what is. It's not pointing out that he doesn't know anything or he is not able to do anything, he doesn't understand, but to question why he doesn't. That is where the teacher awareness of identifying a student comes into play. So for that, the teachers should have been adequately trained. Now, when we have in the context of Dubai, most teachers, most of the schools are inclusive and most teachers are trained. But how much varies from every individual? How much of them are they trained, and how much will they depends on the background that they come from, their interactions. Because it's a diverse group, the level of trained teachers vary, so the identification also gets delayed. And then comes to resources, because none of these schools in UAE especially, they are not they are for profit run schools. So everything, resources is all directly proportional to the fee. And if it is an affordable mid-market school, then they may not be well equipped with the resources which will help them identifying. Neither they will have the resources to modify or accommodate and support these children extensively. And then comes the society, like families who don't like their children to sit with a child with special needs. My mama said not to play with him because he's special. I don't want to sit next to him because he looks different. Those kind of society pressures starts coming at the age at grade 3, because children are more aware of the society, of what they want to be, someone they want to please, and they want to be known for something good, and they don't want to be associated with somebody who needs that additional, who looks different in every aspect, looks different, or their development is different, or they are different from what is the common norm. Now, to me, these are all the barriers But when we look at solutions, it is all there in the policy and implementation. And it's a major role place as a school. If they have in the policy to support these students, the teachers get trained, the resources are in place. And as much as teacher training, that students can also be desensitized and can develop empathetic children who accept differences, and they can evolve beyond discrimination and to support these children alongside. So this is my take for the first identification and resolution of barriers.
I really appreciate the way, ma'am, you have highlighted different areas, right? From a child's struggle in when it comes to studying to being accepted in the classroom. This is something which, as educators, we also face, whether it is dealing with children in the classroom where they do not want to peer support their buddies. When it comes to children of SENS students, for that fact, who are struggling to understand basic concepts. So all this is taken into consideration when we talk about barriers. And you're right, grade 3 is that crucial year where children are from where there's a shift, where children are now learning to read. Earlier, from grade KGs to grade 2, they were basically learning to read. Now they're reading to learn. Sorry, now in grade 3, they're reading to learn. So there's a big shift. Now children won't have to become independent. They have to become more confident. So how we as teachers address this, how policies shape our school systems, how policies influence the decisions, and basically teacher training, all this helps us address these barriers. This brings me, you brought up one very crucial point about teacher training, and that brings me to ask Mr. Narendra this question. From your experience as a special educator and a faculty trainee, what strategies have you found effective in bridging the training and practice gap between special educators and mainstream teachers?
Well, thank you, Nicolette. First of all, I would like to say you that about the disability figure or disability data in my country, my home country, India. You know, as per census 2011, we have 26.8 million person with disability. Out of 26.8 million, we have 15 million around male person with disability and 11.8 million female person with disability. Out of this, if we categorize the number of disability, we find that almost 20% person with movement disability, 19% visual impairment, almost same percentage hearing impairment, 6% intellectual disability, like that. And census 2011, age group 5 to 19, almost 61% CWSN children are enrolled in schools. I mentioned the data of 2011. As you know that due to COVID-19, census was scheduled in 2021, but not happened that time. But right now it is in process. We have so many data right now because we are in 2026 and I am taking the source of 2011 because government data 2011 is authentic, so we are still taking this one. Now come to the main topic, your teaching perspective and as a special educator point of view. I am going to focus on the teaching point of view. You know, we have teachers training program in separate way. Separate way means we have teachers training program in for general education, and similarly we have teachers training program in special education. In general education, that is B.Ed, monitored and recognized by NCT, National Council of Teacher Education. This is B.Ed General NCT come under the Education Ministry in our country. But when we talk about the special education, even in special education, we have so many specializations around the world, not in only in my country. For example, I am working in the teachers training college. We prepare teachers who teach visually impaired children. Teachers prepare for learning disability, autism, and hearing impaired, like that. This program, special education in our country, monitored by, recognized by Rehabilitation Council of India. And that Rehabilitation Council of India come under the Ministry of Social Justice Empowerment. I mentioned both the things and try to keep the figure about the situation of education, of general education, general children and special children, because there is a separate identity. You find there is a lack of collaboration between general and special education. Even in general education, there is a syllabus uh, different. In special education, you find the syllabus component are different. Of course, may be different, but good thing is that right now, what I have noticed that even in general B.Ed education, general teachers are also studying some special paper, not in so detail, but they are studying. One thing even I would like to mention here that right now government of India is going to stop 2 years B.Ed program and going to start, already started, 4 years teacher training program. That is ITEP, Integrated Teacher Education Program in general education field. And similarly, in special education field, ITEP, Integrated Special and Inclusive Teacher Education Program. However, what we are noticing that both sectors in the sense, both department are not sitting together to resolve the problem of inclusive education. And this is the very, you have golden chance, you have golden opportunity to come together, all the experts of special education, experts of general education come together on one table, and what components the general teachers should also study about the disability. So this is the big gap. I am not finding the gap is bridging, but I am finding the gap is going to become bigger. Second thing, if you give the chance of general teachers to go to a special school and learn Braille, in one day you can't learn Braille. In one day you can't learn sign language. So these are the things in my personal experience. This may be some people may agree or not agree, but what I am observing, even in a special education program, we are doing hard work. Our trainees are doing hard work. We provide opportunity to teach in even inclusive school during the training period. But in general education, we don't notice such kinds of seen general education teachers going to inclusive schools and meet with the special needs children, teach special needs children. So such kinds of gap I am noticing. And positive thing, again, I would like to say, yes, there is awareness coming. All regular teachers noticing the CWSN children. All regular teachers are knowing about the special education program. Positive message around the society, around the education sector. Even common people are knowing the CWSN children, their right, their right and their education, their success. So things are changing gradually. But in the context of education, I think we need to do a lot of work. We need to again sit together, and this way we can change in the inclusive education sector.
Thank you, sir, for your insight. Based on what you said, I believe a gap in the policy, a deficiency in the policy is what has impacted our teacher training and has impacted how we train teachers in the mainstream education to become more inclusive in our practices. So that brings me to ask Ms. Bhuvana a very important question. Ms. Bhuvana, within a minute, can you please tell me what is your opinion? Should teacher training be a part for, especially for inclusion, be a specialist subject in our B.Ed schools, in our B.Ed colleges?
We actually, worldwide inclusive education is quite relevant these days. Gone are those days that was only used for research purpose and other things. And with the growing number, awareness, and the increasing needs of the students, it should definitely be one of the subjects, like one of the mandatory modules, because I'm sure every teacher will come across at least one, if not more, students with needs in any part of the world that you're teaching. It may vary, the number of students may vary, but I'm sure everyone would come across um, students with needs. I think Miss Janet can add to this because she had taught earlier where she may have not come across these many students in her class. But given today, Nicolette, yourself, you can say how often do you see? It's like every year you do get to work with students. It's only the numbers which change. Sometimes you may get two students, sometimes you may get five or more. So if that is going to be your everyday way of working, I wouldn't put it as a challenge. Everyday way of working which needs more attention, I think that is an important subject which needs to be added. Like it's like how we all started focusing on self-care after COVID. The use of vitamins have been your daily routine now. So is inclusive education. It's like a vitamin which is going to empower the world and the children. And I'm very much sure if I had the power or the vision to include inclusive education into regular B.Ed classes, I'll be the first person to do it.
That's really nice way of putting across that it is important for us teachers, whether or not we are having sent students in our class, it's very important for us to know, to have that knowledge on how we can be inclusive, because inclusiveness does not limit ourselves to only 10 students. In a grade 3
Yes.
classroom, inclusiveness includes different levels of learners as well. And we as teachers need to know how to address the challenges these little children face. So, moving on to Miss Janet as our parent guardian on this panel discussion, I would like to know what are the challenges that parents face in advocating a child's inclusion in mainstream education.
First of all, I'd like to come to the point of Ms. Bhuvna and Mr. Narendra that we were not aware of these children. I remember now once when I was in school, I think so in seventh or eighth grade, I had a student who, however much you beat her, she would not feel any pain or anything at all. And always she was laughing. She was always laughing. See, that time I didn't know that. I'm sorry, I get emotional very quickly. At that time, I didn't know that these things are there in the society. So then, when I was back in my school, I was teaching a child. That child also, he was a special need child, and the mother was not accepting that he was a special need child. He was in grade one or two. So he was a cesarean boy. He had a cut ear, and I remember his face very well, with mouth also cut. So she said, because he's a cesarean, that is why he has got these problems. So parents are not aware. That's what both of them wanted to say. So parents are totally not aware. Even for me also, I would say that Ayan's parents were not aware. Means father had a little knowledge, but uh, we means I had a knowledge because I was teaching here in our own English high school. So I had a knowledge about these children. So I was thinking that maybe something may be wrong with the child, because whenever we used to take him to the shopping mall and all, I'm talking about the early ages of the child, because you didn't speak about anything about early ages. You spoke totally about grade 3. So I'll come to grade 3 later, but let me talk about the early things which we should not miss in a child. See, going to the shopping malls and all, he used to cry a lot when he was a baby. He used to cry. He never used to go out in the crowd. We used to take him in the parks also. He was playing aloof. He never used to mix up with the children. Okay, so this is the steps which we, and even when we admitted him in the school, he was staying aloof from the children and he was playing on his own. Now coming to grade 3. When when he came to grade 3, I gradually realized that he has started learning, being with the friends and talking a little with the friends. He is not that much talking, but now he has started talking. He was talking with the friends, and he started in grade 3 means his mental ability to learn things was getting on. Means grade 3 was a step stone, you can say, because when he was in grade 1 and 2, 2 was totally went in COVID. So I won't say that he understood anything in COVID, because whatever he studied at home. But then in grade 3, I realized that he has started picking up things from the school. First, he never used to speak what was happening in the school, what was happening in the class, or anything like that. But then he started speaking that my teacher said this happened. And if someone used to scold him, he used to come home and cry. This teacher, he used to tell that this is happening. So in grade 3, why I'm talking about this is that I think so this is the time when the children, they start realizing something is there in the studies and something is happening to them. And I'm not talking about him also. I have been an LSA to I think so, 5 or 6 of children. So I'm talking about them also. So I know that these children also, they don't realize in KG, I was with a student, and that student, he didn't know how to walk also. So I used to make him stand on my feet and make him walk. He didn't know how to climb the stairs, everything. So I had to hold him and teach him how to climb the stairs. Now, when I saw him, I was very happy to know that now he has also started learning and studying well. So grade 3 is a step where the children, they start, their mind growth is there to start learning and doing things. So that's what I wanted to thank Ms. Bhuvna and Narendra sir also to bring this topic up, that what the children should learn and how they are learning, and there was no awareness before, and now also in some parents there is no awareness, because the parents are not at all happy to think that their child has got some deficiency or something. They totally would like to, you can say, close an eye to that side of this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much, Miss Janet, for sharing your experience as a guardian on the challenges you have faced, especially your grandson, what challenges he has faced. And to summarize the three responses we got, the barriers that as educators, as parents, as leaders we face is basically the lack of awareness, whether it's lack of awareness among the teachers, lack of awareness among the parents, which also impacts the acceptance, how we accept these children, how we respond to them, how we cater to their needs, and how we support them. So, moving on to our second objective, let's now focus on how we can collaborate together as stakeholders. How can we collaborate to ensure the best for our SENS students in grade 3? So, my first question goes to Ms. Bhuvana. How can the SENS department improve teacher and parent collaboration to ensure a consistent support for grade 3 SENS learners?
Like I said, coming back to what we do, our best practice, I would like to say that is why we have something called IEP, the Individual Educational Plan. Now, that is a document which is in other parts of the world, it's a legal document which gives you provision to avail from the sources out, local area units, like be it any therapy and other things, and the school provision, whether the child should be placed in a normal school or a special school, and everything is covered by the government. But in Asian countries, and especially in Dubai context, where it's a paid service, it's a student parents pay for the school, and this is a standard school provision. Every school should provide an individual educational plan for a student who is identified to have additional needs or special needs. So that document is a blue chart for everybody, roles being assigned for everyone. What will the specialist from the SEND department be? A special educator will do. What should the class teacher do? and what is expected from the parent. Now that's the way the SEND department tries to build collaboration. Now there are clear roles defined for each one of them. The targets are discussed with the parent, the targets are discussed with the teachers as to what is being covered during that particular term. And in that, what is more complex is being worked by the special educator, and the strategies which work with this child is being shared with the teacher. One in the name of accommodations, what all accommodations can you give for the child in class, and what are the exam modifications can be done. All that is specified in that document. I'm sure, Nicolette, you would have had umpteen number of experience of working closely and using that IEP as your checklist. You will modify your everyday lesson. Now, Bhuvna will not know to read, but she understands the content. So the question has to be read to Bhuvna so that Bhuvna will be able to answer. Now, this Nicolette reads it at the beginning of the term, and she starts doing that. And it's not only Nicolette, it's her team of other teachers who teach that child read. And it is always updated to the parent. Like we have regular PTMs, we have open door where the parents come to see what works better in class.
Yes,
And
it
the
is there.
IEP sessions or anecdotals or shared, weekly anecdotals or shared with the parents as to what the child does in our one individual session. So it's a collective work, it's partnership, it's nobody, it's like three pieces of a puzzle which connect together so that this child grows overall. It's not only academics, it's also for the social emotional skills as well. So overall holistic development is supported. So the SEN department supports, connects the all three stakeholders through a document called individual educational plan. So it's a documented thing, it's a working document. So in case if there is a progress much more quicker than what we expected, we add more goals. And in case if the goals are not um, if the goals are not met, we extend it for the next term so that the child has more time to pick up those skills. Not only with not only do we work with the teachers and the SEND department and parents, we also collaborate with external therapists if the child is receiving external support, therapy outside of school. We work closely with the external therapist. They do visit schools, observe the child in the class, and provide more additional strategies which work with them. So it is a multidisciplinary team which is working with these children. And when you do that, you really see progress. And teachers play a crucial role in collaborating with everyone. The better they collaborate, the better the outcome.
Thank you so much, Ms. Bhuvna, for highlighting the importance of IEPs. Like it's like a thread that weaves all the stakeholders together. And that brings me to asking Mr. Narendra. So, what do you think, in your opinion, as a special educator, as an educator who has also worked in the rural villages, in spreading awareness about inclusive practices? So, what is your opinion? How can we build this trust between parents? Like, as an educator, you are a mediator between the school and the parents. So, how do you feel we can build this trust with parents?
Well, you know, communication playing an important role in trust building, and the role of parents in every child, even CWSN child or normal child, playing important role for the development and growth of the child. Even we are sitting in, even in our life, everybody parents has paid lot of things for the development of us. Thing is that the role of schools, the role of parents, the role of teacher is very important for the development, especially needs children. Trust, school has to engage parents in various ways. For example, all over the world, not in India, every part of the world, we organize parents-teacher meeting. Here, after the RT Act 2011, we have a school management committee. We engage our parents in school management committee. Even ma'am already said in IP, the role of parents are very crucial in the case of CWSN children. So here is also provision, a strict provision parents can give input before planning the IEP. Even we have planned for review the 3 months after the 3 months of the implementation of IEP. Thing is very important is that parents, you know, children spend a lot of time with parents. 4 5 hours spent in schools and teacher. Even in weekend, parent children spend time with parents. In holiday, children spend time with parents. So parents know each and every things of the special needs children in detail, and their contribution in the schools as in teachers very important, because you know what child like, what child dislike, everything he know very detailed. So in my opinion is that, and my experience is saying that, so teachers should communicate with parents, and the progress of the child, the you know the even single positive message if share with the parents, parents become happy, and such they get such kinds of make pride like that, so thing is that communication is very important. Let us allow me to discuss one thing. One Bollywood is very famous across the world, that one movie, A Star Like on the Earth. uh, this movie was released in 2007, and you notice that uh, the parents criticize, scold his child because his child is not performing well in the academic subject. And teacher parents decided to send our child to boarding schools, and he shifted to boarding schools, and their teacher recognized the child has problem with dyslexia, and after that teacher work with on the child, and uh, recover the potential of the child. So what I am telling you thing is that the coordination between the teacher and parents is equal important. Teachers should also share the positive aspects time to time. Even if needed, teacher can visit to the home. Sometimes in our country, especially, parents avoid to attend the parents teacher meeting. They excuse for anything. So this should be a stop. And one thing that is very important, without the support of parents, even in regular children progress, parents role is very important. Even in our policy also implement and encourage, foster the trust between the teacher and parents, and parents should communicate with teachers, and teachers should communicate with the parents. This way the holistic development of CWSN children we can see on the paper. Even you mentioned that the teachers trainee visited, of course, in the rural side of our country, we need to work on that, because we are living in metro city. There is awareness, of course there is awareness, but in rural side there is a lack of awareness still. Parents are ignoring, parents are not sending their child to schools, even in special schools. So there is a need to sensitize the people, especially parents of CWSN. Our teacher need to inform the rights of the CWSN. For example, there is a provision of disability allowances, there is a provision of disability pension. For that, for taking the benefit of these pensions, you need to make a disability certificate, UDID card. Even education for CWSN children up to 6 to 18 years is free in our country. Or no one schools can deny to get admission of the children. Dresses are free, books are free, uniforms are free, foods are free. So these things are free of cost available, but need to know the parents and communicate with the teachers, communicate with schools, even the community member. This way they can get proper knowledge, proper educations, and the gap of communication between teachers or school management and principal, I think this way also reduce, and ultimately the CWSN children, special needs children, will be benefited.
Thank you so much, sir. You highlighted one very important point. It's very important for parents, teachers, and policies makers to work together in collaboration because although we have so many facilities available to us, parents are not aware of what the government has to offer or what schools have to offer. And this awareness can only come to them when they are in constant touch with schools, they're in constant touch and updated with the changes in the policy in order to make the best benefits. Because at the end of the day, all our aim is the child's progress. And the child will progress only if he or she has access to these resources. So moving on to Miss Janet, in brief, can you please tell me, as a parent, what is your expectation of a communication with the school, with the policymakers? If you had a chance, what is your expectation of a communication with them?
See, communication wise, I don't have any problem with the school because the school actually, they are very supportive. Uh, I'm in a same group where I see that in other schools there is not so much support provided to the same child, whereas in the school which my child is, a lot of support is provided both from the same department as well as from the teachers also. The teachers are also very, very cooperative, very, very nice over here. Even the same department is also very nice here. So I don't think so I can have a better school than this, which I'm very happy to be here, in fact.
I'm very glad
Not
to
I means my child is happy to be here. When my child is there, that means I'm also there because in a way I'm, supporting and I'm a part of the school with my child over there. So I'm very, very glad that I took my child to this school.
I was really glad to know, ma'am, that because it reminds me of an example. In order to build something, it takes efforts not only of one person. For example,
Yeah.
if you have to build a building, it includes a lot of people working together to ensure the foundation is strong, to ensure the building is standing strong. And similarly, when it comes to our SEN students, especially in the primary level, it's very important for us to work together as stakeholders to ensure that these children benefit, these children are making the best of the resources available to them. And this brings us to our last objective, which is more solution focused. Now that we've spoken about the barriers, we've spoken about our expectations as stakeholders, inclusion becomes more sustainable when schools create the right opportunities through innovative technological practices, supportive policies, and assistive technologies that remove learning barriers. So let's now focus on what solutions do we have to offer our teachers in the audience. So, Ms. Bhuvana, now that we know that inclusive education becomes stronger when we all work together, from your perspective as the head of the department, what assistive technologies or innovative strategies have you seen make the greatest impact on supporting in diverse learners in a grade 3 primary classroom?
um, there is, while we are discussing, I also see the chat box where there are teachers who have mentioned that everything falls on the teacher. Yes, everything falls on the teacher. Now when we look at what practices which has actually helped is having para educators like learning support assistant, or normally known as the shadow teacher, has made a paradigm shift in the support for these students in class. Uh, I think that's a very recent practice which has been successful. Back in the days, it was only left with the teachers to do. Now, I'm talking about maybe a decade. Recent is a decade from ever since I'm here. I can see more number of learning support assistants, and there are these courses which come and people get trained to support these children. Those are individual or sometimes shared LSAs depending on the needs and the policies of the school to support, to parallelly facilitate learning while the whole classroom learning is happening. I think that is one of the uh, successful practice which has made inclusion possible in mainstream classrooms. Coming to technology, yes, technology is a double-edged sword. It has to be used carefully, otherwise children do get dependent, and parents do have the problem of addiction or too much of technology and not coming to. So there should be a good balance. But I wouldn't deny the software of uh, immersive reader, which helps, which is an automatic reader, which enables students who has difficulty reading but can understand the context. Now, had it not been there, then they are left, they are deprived of the knowledge that they knowledge accumulation. So that is one thing which I've practically used. And we do alternative testing methods like be it word wall, Kahoot, gaming way of interactive ways of teaching, plus assessing their understanding, and not limited to typing, touch typing, text to speech, speech to text, and communication apps like Avaz, which helps children who cannot speak or who cannot express their thoughts but can use those icons and tabs in the device to tell what they want to tell, or make others understand this is what. And one other way of picture exchange communication, where children can point to picture or even visual schedules which help to regulate behavior. This is just few examples which I have said. These visual schedule has made changes to student behavior in real time. And I'm a big fan of widget tools and those images, small uh, line drawing images, which help students understand the context for anybody with communication difficulties and accept changes and regulate their behavior. So these are things which have been used practically, and it's not limited to what I said. There is much more coming, and it varies. It has to be customized for each student. It's not like what works for one will work for others. Everyone has to try and test to see what works, and then implement into a regular way of working.
Thank you so much, Ms. Bhuvana. I think you brought out so many examples which many of us teachers are not aware of, because, see, behind the success of every SEND child in our schools, it is the SEND department who is busy researching on all these tools, these tech tools, which can benefit our children. So it's really nice to know that you have brought up so many examples like Avaz and all, which we would really want to explore as well. And it would be nice if us teachers also could be trained in this, so
Absolutely.
that we can
First
also
thing is
implement.
knowledge. You should have knowledge of all these. Like I heard from Bhuvna ma'am these Awaz and all this. Because my child doesn't have any speaking disability, so
So it's
that's
all
why we
need
don't
based.
know.
Based on the need is when
Yeah,
we explore more.
yeah.
That's really, really nice to hear, ma'am. And I would like to ask Mr. Narendra a similar question. So, what do you think? How can we, what classroom techniques and what assistive technologies could be game changers when it comes to changing, translating our IPs into actual practical, meaningful practices in our classrooms? So, what do you think? What are your suggestions?
Well, my work um, completed by Bhuvna madam. She mentioned a lot of assistive devices and what she used and teachers used in the classroom. But my perspective is different. And earlier I mentioned that directly I am not working with the CWSN children in schools. So I can't directly say you what kinds of technology they are using in the classroom. But on my experience, I would like to mention here that even in my classroom where I am teaching right now, there are 89 visually impaired teachers training along with sighted students. So what I noticed before COVID and after COVID, post COVID, what I noticed that you remember that during the teachers training program, we have lesson plan, teaching practice. We implement in inclusive schools and special schools. So earlier I noticed that visually impaired children used to depend on the scribe. Uh, First, they have to make the plan in braille. After that, they dictate to our friends. So post-COVID, what I am noticed that all the visually impaired students prepare the lesson plan on self with the help of computer, internet, and the game changer. You used the word game changer. I noticed that the game changer is a screen reader software that is job access with a speech that make their life very easy. NVDA, non-visual desktop, that make their life very easy, make their life independent, make their life happier, because these things, and we are also surprising events. Regular students excuse sometimes, okay sir, due to some reason I have not prepare my plan for tomorrow classes, but these visually impaired students are doing a lot of work. Apart from that, there are so many technology assistive devices are available. Even TLM are also available for I'm sure that help the teachers, special educators in the completion of IEP. For example, Bhuvna madam already mentioned a speech to text, text to a speech, even audiobooks. Audiobooks is very helpful in for all students. Pictorial, teaching learning material, just like toys, beads. These are also used by the teachers for fulfill the IEP. Even worksheet, the involvement of parents. In earlier topic, I mentioned that the involvement of parents is very important, because uh, child spend many more time with parents, so parents know much more about their child. So apart from that, I noticed that other teachers also use in our country, like augmentative alternative and devices. Apart from narrators, they use a smart board. A smart board is very playing important role in the classroom, because multi-purpose use. A smart board is multiple, all students can use, all CWC can be benefited from a smart board. So these are the things I think somehow teaching learning materials, you can learning material, you can design, you can develop as per the requirement of the child. In technology we can't change, because it's already inbuilt, we just use. And before using, we need to take the training. Even in our library, there is one software and technology, Kibo, help the visually impaired children. So many magnifiers for partially sighted children, large font size. So multiple things, TLM, assistive devices, combination of both things, and I think the IP may be gain whatever the IP we plan, short-term goals and long-term goals. So this TLM and assistive devices technology can help to accomplish the goal of IP.
Thank you very much, sir, for you and Ms. Bhuvana, both of you all have really given us an insight on what technologies we can incorporate to make learning more accessible to us and students, especially the younger ones. And finally, coming to Ms. Janet. Ms. Janet, I would like you now, moving on beyond our assistive technologies that we spoke about, I want you to think about it, to reflect, and to tell me one change, if you had an option, what would be the one change you would like to implement in the policies when it comes to advocating a more inclusive practice in our mainstream schools?
Yeah, that is one thing which I would like to speak on, because I, actually my child, he is going to grade 8. Okay, and in grade 8, now he is going to be burdened with all subjects in one at one time. He has got to learn everything at one time. What I suggest is, especially to Miss Bhogna or Mr. Narendra sir, that instead of taking them to eighth grade all subject at a time, why don't we start from, like you are referring to, grade 3? See, a child would be exceptionally good in at least one subject. Out of so many subjects, at least he would be good in one subject. So why don't we start from grade 3, give him then opportunity to fully adapt to the third grade syllabus for one subject, which he is very good at. Then moving to grade 4, we can adapt to another subject. So in that way, when he comes to grade 8, he will be able to, okay, don't give him test for all the, you can say question paper, which grade 3 or grade 4 students are doing. But apart from that IEP, take one subject and give questions of that subject according to at the par of the class. So while he comes up till grade 8, he'll be having maximum number of subjects with him, which he can do all the things at a time, which he can learn at
So
a
what
time.
I think you're trying to tell us, ma'am, is like introducing, instead of having all the subjects taught to them at the same time,
Yeah,
introduce to them one subject at a
one
time.
subject at a time.
Miss Bhuvna, what is your views about this, ma'am?
See, that will be good if we have our, again, that comes to the policy maker, since we are talking of a CBSE school context. Now we have limitation because we are expected to follow the curriculum guidance by the CBSE. Now we should have that kind of flexibility like other international school boards, where there is this flexibility, like what Miss Janet rightly pointed out. Making them do all subjects at a given time can be a challenge, where the
Very, very great
compartmentalism.
challenge.
So that is still not functional in CBSE as yet. Now, if I will compare with the international curriculum with I had worked earlier all this while, uh, we have two options of doing the exam in two sessions. One is in October, November, one is in May, June. So if we have 5 subjects, we divided the 2 subjects, the child does it in October, November, the rest 3 they do in May, June. So the pressure is divided. I wish more such flexibility be offered for children with special needs by CBSE. Indian boards are not as flexible. The exam accommodations aren't all that flexible. They just allow you to swap these subjects. Very few couple of subjects are skill based, but the accommodations is still not child friendly as yet. My humble request to policymakers, if I would get an opportunity to share my point of view, is to uh, improve more accommodations, exam based accommodation, and not only exams. It can be a project, it can be uh, an alternative ways of internships or hands on experiences for them to be marked and help them skill based rather than actually writing an exam. So those kind of flexible certification options, apart from only the grade 10 and the grade 12 examination, it can be done in a very gradual way over a period of 2 years for these students, which would ease the stress for the student and the families who are supporting them, like the guardian who actually experiences the stress of this child of making him study all at one go.
Yeah,
Thank you so much, Miss
and
Bhuvna.
one more point. Sorry, Nicolette. Too.
Please,
One more
please.
point. Like in grade CBSE, they have that vocational training after grade 8. So in ninth and 10th, that vocational training is there, and that vocational training that can be implemented in schools. So over here in Dubai, I have not seen vocational training in the schools. Uh, I'm talking about the entire Dubai, not only the schools which you are in, but entire Dubai. So why can't we ask the CBSE to do this also here? Vocational
It is,
training for the
yes,
students.
again, it has to be implemented by the local policymakers, has to accept for the suggestions coming from another country's policies.
You
So
mean KHDA should it?
yes. So uh, there is still not approval and acceptance to understand what Indian NIOS can offer, which has got more vocational and skill based subjects. uh, Schools are still not permitted to implement in Dubai or UAE per se, which is different in India. A school, if you will see schools in your respective states or the cities that you come from, for student there is a parallel curriculum which is happening. When a student cannot write the CBSE board, they are encouraged to do NIOS, national open schooling exams, which is a subsidiary or similar to a CBSE curriculum. So the students prepare for, there is exams at grade 3, grade 5, grade 8, and grade 10 and 12. So that options are not made available for us in the UAE. I hope in the future we will have that. So these children also get a well balanced uh, no curriculum and skill development at the same time.
Thank you so much, Ms. Bhuvna, Ms. Janet, for that very, what do you say, it was a very nice reflective discussion that we just had, where we realized that it's very important for policymakers as well to take into consideration the viewpoints of parents. Because, see, at the end of the day, it's the parents as well who are working very closely with these children. So it's very important for them to know their perspective as well, teachers' perspective as well. And Ms. Bhuvna, I would really like to thank you because through your response, where you spoke about flexible assessment methods, you answered one of our audience questions, which was in the chat box. Ms. Nelzita had posed a question where she asked, how can assessment methods be adapted to ensure that they are fair and inclusive for diverse learners? And that's what you explained through your response, where you spoke about a flexible assessment system, nothing which is rigid, nothing that is going to stress the child out, but something which is hands on, which can be adapted for the learner, which the learner can be tested based on his skills, based on his understanding, based on his comfort. Let's use the word comfort in this matter. So while we come to a closure, I would like the audience, I see the chat box is buzzing with a lot of opinions. I would like the audience to please write your questions. If you have any questions to ask our panelists here, please do post them in the chat box. And while we give the audience a minute to do so, I would like to pose a common question to all three of you. A question which, where I ask you to please, what advice would you give to the teachers, especially new teachers who are joining in when it comes to being more inclusive in our mainstream classrooms? So, what advice would you like to give the new teachers when it comes to inclusive practices in our mainstream classrooms?
Like I started with my thing, embrace, elevate, embrace the child with the needs, with no uh, bias, and look at what he knows rather than what he doesn't know. That's the first way, is to embrace. It is important that you accept the child with as a whole. So you empower the child, you embrace the child, you can empower the child, you elevate, together you can shine. Very simple.
Beautifully said, really beautifully said, very impactful words, and something which I feel all of us who are present here will definitely take it with us, carry it with us as we continue in our field. Moving on to Mr. Narendra.
Uh, okay. This is a very difficult questions. Uh, present teacher or mainstream teachers in current time are very intelligent, hard worker, and technology friendly. However, I would like to suggest some few points. First of all, understand the need and nature of the child. The child, all the childs are not alike, just like a finger of our hand. So when we are talking about children with special needs, the characteristic, their need, their demand, their requirement are different to each other. Some of the CWSN are visually impaired. Some of the CWSN are cannot communicate properly with teacher. Some of the teacher students are not understand the instruction of teacher. So when we are talking in the perspectives of inclusive education, understand the need and nature of the child first. Second point I would like to mention the patience. Patience is very important in the life of any teacher, especially uh, you work with the special education. Tomorrow, yesterday I went to one school. I got opportunity there. uh, I observed that one child almost 14 years, and she was not responding, so she was not attention. even no academic function, and just trying to touch the clothes of teacher and smelling after 5 minutes frequently. So if you are new teacher and you may be embarrassed, you may be lose your patience and temper. So you need to keep patience. And in the context of universal uh, design learning, here I would like to mention 3 points: UDL, multiple means of representation, multiple means of engagement, and multiple means of action and expression. They need to follow and implement. Lastly, I would like to say the poem of Robert Frost, written by Robert Frost. Uh, the woods are lovely, dark, and deep, but I have promised to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. So I think that we have selected this field, special education, by choice. No one pushed her to go to a special education and work with children with disability. When we come by own choice, so we need to show patience and hard work, and we have to keep faith in our child, and one day they can progress. I think so that.
Thank you very much, sir. It was beautifully quoted by you. Miss Janet, what would your advice be to our new teachers?
Actually, both Miss Bhuvna and Narendra have explained, but still I would like to add that these children, special needs children, actually they are very, very away from the social environment. They don't know socially how to meet up with the other kids of their age. And other kids of their age also, they feel that they are someone whom they should not meet or something like that. They should not talk. Because I've seen in metros also, when we are there, we know how the other people look at you. So the teachers, they should engage these children in group activities, and especially let the child who is sane, give him a leadership and tell him to do something, so that he involves the other children also, and he knows how the other children can also participate with him and talk to him. That's what I feel, that these children should actually meet each other and talk, and in a group discussions, I think so, will help them to enhance their ability to talk and meet with the friends, as well as with the teachers also, new teachers also. See, my child, he is not at all, you can say, not comfortable with new teachers. He adapts the new students, he adapts the new classes, he adapts everyone. But I have seen other children who are very scared when the new teacher enters the class. So they have to speak very nicely to them. They have to make them understand that we are your parents, like at home, and just help them in, like the brothers and sisters in the group. We just help them and give them group work a lot. So
Thank you so
that's
much,
what
Miss
I
Janet.
think.
Yes, I completely agree with you on this point. I feel at the end of the day, it's very important for teachers, especially the new teachers who join into this field. They should be patient to deal with whatever challenges come their way, especially with a large classroom and you have few sense students in the class. So the patience to deal with them, the acceptance that they are there, their needs are different, they need to be supported, and finally the knowledge in addressing these needs. So I think these three things are very important for us teachers and especially the new teachers to learn. Now, Ms. Bhuvna, before we come to an end to today's panel discussion, Mr. Mark has brought up a very important question on the chat box. Through inclusive education, teachers have to adapt teaching strategies and methods to support students in and through their learning. Now, how are teachers meant to motivate policymakers in adjusting assessments to support the students as well, especially when summative assessments are standardized?
To answer this, like I said, the policy, it is a, we all hope, uh, NEP, with NEP there is a change. These which is not limited only to exam, which decides the marks and the grades. We are getting into more project based and skill based subjects or taking into consideration. There are reforms in the CBSE curriculum in the Indian context. Internationally, there are alternative ways of like pathways. Like it need not be a GCSE or a AS level for a child to progress. There are alternative ways like BTech programs, which is more of project based and not limited only to exams. So we can consider those options, but the awareness for parents are very limited. And when in context of UAE, there are limited schools providing that option, which is a level 1 BTech program, level 2 BTech program, which is an alternative to 10th and 12th grade exams. And with that, these students can progress into higher national diploma and then can get a degree as well, which is more skill based and project based rather than exam based. Now it has to be made readily available because it's offered by Pearson's and the UK board. The cost is slightly more than what is affordable to others, to most of them. So one is the awareness has to be created. Two, more schools should be able to provide that. So when that is an option available for the end of school qualifications, then the schools will become more automatically flexible to modify the assessments at a younger level. They will not be exam based or a standardized exam scores which determine a student's progress or attainment. So
Thank
it
you
has
very
to
much.
come from top and it can change.
Thank you so much, Ms. Bhuvana, for addressing Mr. Mark's question. Now, as we come to an end to today's panel discussion, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to our three panelists for sharing their expertise, experiences, and honest reflections. Today's discussion reminds us all that inclusive education is not just a one person's responsibility, it's a shared commitment. And as educators, we may not be able to change everything overnight, but we can begin with what is in our control: how we design lessons, how we speak to learners, how we choose to view students, not through their limitations, but through their potentials, and finally, how we create safer classroom spaces for them. Let us leave today's panel discussion with one shared goal: to make inclusion not just an approach, not just a policy on paper, but a practice where every child belongs, participates, and progresses. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you too.